Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show.
Hello and welcome to today's Tiff and Tony Show. Hi Tiffany, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are
Excellent.
you, Tony?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Good.
So, Friday, you spoke about change and how change happens to us. Tell me more, what was the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so I really enjoy doing in my Friday challenge videos is really just tying in themes from my life that I recognize other people can connect with. So part of it is me being vulnerable and sharing. It's way more connecting that way. And also because the things I like to talk about are things that are just part of being human, and it helps really foster more of a relationship and things that people might have more direct impactment from. I'm not sure impactment is a word, but I used it and that's okay.
It is.
So yes, and then you simultaneously had an idea to talk about sort of change in a different way in the Tiff and Tony Show. So where's your head at with change?
Yes, so change, and it's actually more about how we can take hold of change and make change happen for us. And the reason it came to me is I am reading this book right now. It's called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. There you go. Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. And he's got this equation that behavior equals or comes from motivation, ability, and prompt. And so I started to look at my life and what goes on and how I create and how I've created change. But I also think about the kids we work with. And so I wanted to share with them this whole idea of motivation not being the best thing to rely on when it comes to change. So if you can't change with motivation, can sometimes, but it's not the most reliable. What is another thing that you can do? Well, ability, right? Ability, you can change your ability. Or your prompt, you can change your environment and set up an environment. So I thought about that. But before we get into that, what do you think stops us from taking on change? Why are we so change averse?
I think one of the deeper rooted emotions that hinders us from wanting change is fear. And often, maybe not always, often the fear is of jumping into something that's unfamiliar, new territory, it's uncertain. There's so many things that could happen that are unexpected. And I think in our cores as humans, we enjoy the stability of what's familiar, even if it's not even a great thing that's familiar. It's all that we know, and it can be really scary to meet new people or do something you've never done before or challenge yourself to maybe do something that you doubt that you even have the ability for. It takes energy and effort, and it can be really exhausting. It can also be really exciting though.
Yes, for sure. And I think that you nailed it there, right? Our brain loves certainty. It seeks certainty all of the time. It seeks a storyline in something that might not ever be there. But by creating a storyline, that creates the certainty that our brain seeks. And the reason it does this, right, is because of when we were walking around the plains of the savannas, if there was a rustling bush, then the worst thing we could do is inquire what was in that bush, because it might jump out and kill us. And so our brain learned to, hey, okay, that's, if I don't know about it, if it's something unfamiliar, that must mean that it's unsafe. So I'm going to stick with what's familiar. I'm going to stick with what I know, and I'm going to stick here. So we don't like change.
Yes.
And so this behavior that we live in, the behavior is the thing that we need to look at to create change, to go on a health kick, right? I want to be healthy, which means I've got to change my diet. I've got to start working out. All of that good stuff is something that I've got to look to do. But that's, like you said, hard work, unknown, unfamiliar, so I don't want to do it. So what I've got to do is change the little behaviors within that. Now, this morning when I wake up, I might have a lot of motivation to do that. So I might sit there and do a quick 20-minute workout. Tonight, I might go to just before bed, go, oh, I'm exhausted. I don't want to do anything. My motivation is gone. That's why this motivation is kind of like a wave. It comes and goes. But ability, I can work and tweak with ability, because I can go online to YouTube and go check out the form of a good push-up, for instance. And then I can learn how to do push-ups. And then the more push-ups I do, the better I get at it, which means my ability has changed. Or the prompt, right? There's a thing that's already out there that says that if you want to go running in the morning, the thing to do is to put your running shoes next to your bed before you go to sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, your running shoes are there. That's your prompt to get there. So with that in mind, when you think about that, what are some of the things that you would like to sit there and say, yeah, that's actually good, some good stuff, Tony. I think I would like to change this in my life. How would you go about taking it on?
It's similar to what you've been talking about. You said motivation, ability, and prompt. So I feel like I have the prompt already. Let's go backwards. I've made this life decision. Things in my life are also kind of just happening and changing. So I have like some self-prompting of, oh yeah, I made this decision. So now my life's got to change and I got to figure it out. And then some prompting just because that's where I'm at now and life just changed. I think ability-wise, I'm still doubtful of my abilities, actually. Even being on here with you, Tony, doing the Tiff and Tony show, there's so many times where I'm like, oh man, do I really have anything to say that is helpful, that people want to hear?
I'm going to interject there, just because I've got something that's ability related.
Okay.
Tell the listeners what you've been doing to improve your ability to be on the Tiff and Tony show, because you share this with me quite a lot. Where have you been going to?
Now that we're doing all of these videos and virtual sessions with kids, because we can't meet in person right now, one of the things that's been so helpful in me really being able to feel more confident in my abilities with kind of this new role in Peer Game is YouTube. And I have found a handful, two in particular, of YouTubers that they're amazing. They're not only good filmmakers with good content, they're passionate, they're authentic, they're themselves, and they share a good story. Film and these videos to me aren't just the content. It's like, how can we talk about this stuff in the narrative of life, which is a story? And yeah, it's going out there and finding people that I value and appreciate what they're doing and learning from them. So I'm constantly watching their videos, taking tips, mentally reassessing, okay, how could I do this better? How could I do it differently? What does it look like? So you called it, Tony.
Yes. So you are in the midst of this behavior change, right? Behavior change, and you've got the motivation because it's here, it's happening. You're riding the crest of that wave. That wave might crash tomorrow and you're like, I'm done. I don't need to change. I'm going to keep where I'm going. So like I said, you can't rely on the motivation, but you can rely on building your ability. And the stronger and better you get at doing these videos, the ability improves, which means your now motivation actually improves as well. And then we can put more prompts around us to remember to do the videos, right? And to remember the content, to work on script, to make it fun, engaging, all of that good stuff. The other thing, again, going back to this Tiny Habits book, the other thing he talks about book is tiny habits, making things as small as you possibly can get them. And he actually talks about a story about being in the dentist chair and the hygienist, having a go at him again because he hasn't been flossing his teeth, which made him feel bad. He knew that he didn't have the motivation to continue to floss his teeth. He had some ability, but he knew that he could improve the ability, just because flossing is kind of hard work and awkward and all that good stuff. And so that's what he did. He went to YouTube, watched some YouTube videos on flossing. He went and bought a special type of floss. And then what he did, and this is the tiny habits bit, there is an anchoring behavior. So his anchoring behavior is when I clean my teeth, anchoring behavior, and then a new behavior that he wants to introduce. I will, right, this is going to be the new behavior, but tiny. I will floss one tooth, right? And this is in his book. It's a great one. When I clean my teeth, I will floss one tooth. And then there's a celebration to it as well. And so he will give himself a big smile. So that's his new behavior. Well, once you start to floss one tooth, then you start to get better at it. Now you start to feel comfortable, and then you floss 2, 3, etc. And now he's flossing all of his teeth every morning and every night, right? Because he put the habit into increasing his ability, and then making it as small as he could. Yep. No matter what happened, no matter how he felt, he would always floss one tooth.
Yep.
And he shares lots of stories like this in the book. It's really, really worth a read. There is a website for him. We will link all of this down below.
One of the things I love about that story and the things that he talks about in that book are that it takes the pressure off of behavior change. Mm-hmm. I can't even tell you, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your own life, and our viewers have as well, is that when you have this goal to make change in your life, it's kind of like a New Year's resolution. You can be so amped up and so excited and you're all in, and then you burn out so fast. You don't have the support system in place that you've set up, like those prompts. You may not have the proper external support of people in your life being able to encourage you. Your motivation crashes hard. Like you said, you can ride the crest of that wave, but you never know when it's just going to crash and burn and you're tossed under the waves. And when we jump in so quickly, we don't often either have the time to create sustainable tiny habits. And so it all just falls apart.
For sure. So thank you very much for that. I'm just going to challenge the viewers. Your challenge today is to figure out the behavior that you want to change. What do you want to see in your life? And then make that as small and tiny as possible, what it is that you can actually change. Knowing that motivation isn't going to sustain you, so avoid that if you can. That can be the starting kickoff point. But then look, does your ability need to change, or does your environment need to change to make that behavior easy? And then, like I said, tiny, as small as you can, floss one tooth. That's it. Go do it. Change is possible. Behavior change can happen, and you can do it. We can all do it. Yes. Tiffany, thank you very much for your time. Any last things from you?
No, just you're welcome, and thank you. Always fun, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, bye.
Thank you so much for joining Tony and me in this conversation about change and how we can make it happen in our own lives. If you like what we do here, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking us on social media and subscribing to our page on YouTube. And with that, we'll see you right back here in 2 weeks.